Now, if you want to see a prime example of what can be both good and bad on a rifle, keep watching.
The GunLocker is proudly brought to you by Insurite. For information on what Insurite has to offer and how they can help you, visit their website www.insurite.me.
Hello and welcome to the GunLocker. Now, this review is going to go along similar lines as my previous one. I have had some comments back on that, and it appears that, yeah, it might work. It might work. It's just different to my usual format of splitting the review into two parts. Part one being design and build, and part two accuracy and performance. This is all combined in one. And it is lengthy. Again, no apologies for that, but if you want an in-depth review, it's going to take some time to go through it. I will put some timestamps in the description below, so if you want to miss out certain parts of this review, you can do. If you want to jump to certain sections, you can do. Just look out for those. So without further ado, let's talk about tech specs. So let's give you a rundown of this rifle. First off, this is BSA's Scorpion SE, black tactical. It's in .22 and it's sub 12 foot-pound, because obviously we're here in the UK and anything over the 12 foot-pound limit is classed as a firearm. Although this is the SE, there are two other models. You can get the Scorpion ST and the Scorpion Cadet. The Cadet was developed for the British military cadet force, and it bears very little resemblance to what you see here. However, it uses the same block, same barrel, as I understand it, but it has open sights. This takes the format of a traditional sporter, as you can see. Obviously it's a PCP, so pre-charged pneumatic for those of you that are new to the airgun scene, and it's a bolt action. Which is quite unusual now for PCPs, as most of them are sort of biathlon levered or side levered cocking. With regards to its price, now Guns R Us are selling this for £659 new, and I'm assuming that that's going to be a price that will be held throughout most part of the UK. It could go up and down, you know, it's just dependent where you are. And with regards to calibers, you can get it in three, so you can get it in the .177, the .22 and the .25, so 4.5mm, 5.5mm and 6.35mm. When you pick it up, it will be packaged in a cardboard box. No frills, you know, there's enough packaging there to make sure that it's safe in transit, but that's about it. Within the box you will receive an instruction leaflet, so you know, it's not really a manual, but it's a leaflet. It's got a very small print on it, and it tells you how to adjust the trigger, you know, on the back. You'll also receive a wire padlock, a filler probe, an Allen key, some lubricant and 3 O-rings. So that's basically what you're going to get with this rifle. So there's no scope, there's no bipod, and no moderator. Let me go on to talk about the stock. So in all honesty, I'm not sure who's made this stock. I'm going to presume it's BSA and not Minelli, and I'll give my reasons for that later on. It is obviously a one-piece stock with an integral trigger guard. Synthetic, I think, you know, that's obvious to see. it almost has a rubberized feel, but it's not rubber, and the whole surface is lightly textured. So yeah, it's very finely stippled. The butt, well, as you can see, although there are cutouts, it's not truly ventilated. It is out of rubber and it is solid. There is no adjustment there whatsoever. So unlike the R10 SE that I've just reviewed, you can't move that butt pad up and down, and you can't adjust it for cast, which is a real shame. I've got to say, it is. What else can I say? So yeah, the butt itself is ambidextrous, which is quite nice. You can see that there's a cheek swell on either side of the rifle, but the cheek piece is fixed, there's no adjustment there. And the grip of this rifle again is ambidextrous. It allows for both a thumbs up position and a wraparound position, and it takes the form again of a Anschutz grip. Now let me make sure that I'm not forgetting anything here. Talking about the forend, well, you do have some, it's not checkering, it is like stippling. You'll see some detailing now. I'm just trying to move the rifle around a little bit so it might focus in on that. It's the same sort of raised stippling as you get on the pistol grip, and the manometer is fitted on the underside of the forend there. The forend takes the shape of a schnabel forend. Sorry, I just lost the words there. And you do have some sling studs fitted for a sling, or you could put a bipod on the front one there, the forend. What I will say with the studs that have been fitted to this, they are actually quite chunky and they will not accommodate all bipods. So if you've got, you know, let's say you've got a Gammo, I know for sure that won't fit on there. A Deben will. It appears that the bipods with a pincer action will fit, but those that actually have a cap that goes over and then you put a screw through them, they won't. Something to bear in mind. What else can I say about this? So going on to the chassis, it's an aluminium block. It's all in black. It seems to be put together nicely, and that's about it. You do have something a little bit different here. So if you want to release the magazine, you need to pull the cocking bolt back all the way, and also up here is a retaining pin that you need to push away from the magazine. You can retract that, put that back in and take it down. It does have a decocking mechanism, by the way, so put it down and just release that. Now, with regards to the safety, it's on the side and it's up well away from the trigger, which is a good thing in my mind. The button when it's to the rear is safe, when it's forward it's fire, so it's quite instinctive. But again, I'm going to talk about this more in the design and build, because I have got quite a bit to say about that safety, and also I've got quite a bit to say about the stock. I'm just trying not to cover those bases twice. The trigger, well, as you can see, it's just a standard bladed trigger. It's actually quite nice out of the box. It's set quite nicely, and it is two-way adjustable. It's adjustable for the length of pull on the second stage and also for pull weight. It's not, well, it's not recommended that you play around with first stage travel, and it says so in the instruction manual. With regards to loading the rifle, it takes rotary magazines, and there is only one magazine with this, which I think is a shame, because when you're spending £659 on a rifle, you would have thought they'd put two in, but they haven't. With these type of magazines, .177 and .22 both accommodate 10 pellets. The .25 accommodates 8 pellets. Now this one has a red wheel to it, being .22. The .177 has a blue wheel, and the .25 has a kind of a browny purple colour to it. But again, more on this later. Now, with regards to the rail on top of the chassis, it is a dovetail rail. It's 184mm long, and it is 13mm wide, so not your standard 11mm. And an interesting fact is that it's actually very low down to the barrel, so it's got an offset of 2.86mm, which is great because you really want to keep your scope as low down to the barrel as possible, and then that way your field of view is not too dissimilar to the trajectory of the pellets, depending on distance. Now, the barrel itself is a cold hammer forged barrel made by BSA. It's 394, so from there to, let me take this air stripper off. So it's 394mm from the breech to the muzzle end, and the wall thickness is 4.98mm, so it's quite a chunky barrel actually. I'm going to put that that air stripper back on. I was going to call it a muzzle brake then. It's not really. Oops, don't want it to cross threads. There we go. And with regards to accessories, well, you know, what you see is what you get, so it's not regulated. It hasn't got a hammer spring adjuster or a plenum or anything like that. It hasn't got a transfer port adjuster. It's just a very simple PCP. But that's not to say that it doesn't perform well. You'll see that in the footage outside. Now, if we go on to BSA's website and have a look at their factory figures, it's a bit strange this, but they're quoting the same for all three calibers with regards to power output. So 16 joules or 11.8 foot-pound for the .177, the .22 and the .25. I'm going to take those with a pinch of salt. Now, with regards to the .177, they claim that it's shooting at 705 feet per second, or at 215 meters per second, and you get a shot count of 140 shots per fill. I would assume that's with the cylinder filled to its maximum 232 bar of pressure. Saying that, with the .22, they're quoting figures of 583 feet per second or 178 meters per second, and again a shot count of 140 per fill. And then for the .25 caliber, they're claiming speeds of 403 feet per second or 123 meters per second, and a shot count of 136 shots per fill. Yeah, I'm gonna question those figures. I really am, because that's not what I was getting. But we'll talk about that later. Its overall length is 895 millimeters, and the center of balance from the butt is roughly 460 mil. So it's roughly where my hand is here, underneath the breech of the rifle. And the reach from the butt to the trigger is 357 millimeters. And by the way, for those guys that are still working Imperial, so it's 35.24 inches long. The center of balance is 18.11 inches from butt to roughly where my finger is there. And the reach from the butt to the trigger is 14.06 inches. Now finally, the rifle weighs in at 3.07 kilograms, as you see, so naked without the scope and without a bipod, and that equates to 6.77 pounds. So there you have it, that's the tech spec on the rifle. What we're going to do next is show you the footage of me shooting outside, and then we'll come back in here and I'll voice my opinions. Hello, I'm outside to do a accuracy and performance test with this BSA Scorpion SE. Do you know what? Honestly, I couldn't have wished for a better day. It's absolutely glorious. There's hardly any clouds in the sky. There's virtually no wind. So it's all down to the rifle and me. No other outside factors, such as gusts that I get occasionally. I'm hoping that the rifle performs well. I've heard a lot about the BSA range. I haven't shot any of these new models, so we'll see how it performs. Now, what I'm going to do is, like I normally do, a pellet test. On the left hand piece of paper you'll see that's down there at the range. The range is set at 30 meters. I'm going to be using Airarms Diablo Fields, Victory Shocks, Golden Trophy FTs, JSB Match Diablo Exacts, and RWS Superdomes, all .22, and this is a sub 12 foot-pound rifle. So yeah, we'll see how it performs. So we'll start off with the Diablo Fields, the Airarms. I've got them loaded up here. They feed in from the left hand side, and what you need to do, there's a retaining pin here, so you just pull that out, you cock the rifle fully, that slips in from the left, it says, hopefully. Not sure why that's not going in. Doesn't seem to be fitting at all. What's going on here? Ah, there it is. No idea why that didn't go in. Cock it. Right. Now this is what I've got a bugbear about. We've got a safety, it's on the right place, but it is so hard to disengage. I don't know if you can see that. You see the dimple that's left on my thumb? I'll do it again. No way should that happen. Look at that. And I'm not overreacting, that hurt. So there's something up with this safety. Yeah, anyway. Let's do the pellet test, and let's go for the bottom left hand target on the left hand piece of paper. Okay, I pulled that last one. That was quite a nice group. So next up, Victory Shocks. Cheap and cheerful pellet, and we'll see if it likes it. Now, no idea why sometimes it feeds in and then it doesn't. What's going on here? There's nothing to line up with. What is going on? There we go. Odd. Really odd. I didn't take it out of fire mode there. It's stuck in fire mode. I'm not going to even attempt that. We'll go bottom left hand target. Sorry, bottom right hand target. I'm out. And I don't know if you heard that report. Without a silencer, it does give quite a bark. Actually, you know, for a cheap and cheerful pellet, that wasn't a bad group at all. So, next up, the Golden Trophy FTs, and we'll go for the centre target. Please let it in. It's almost like I can't get this magazine to feed. It's so odd. There's nothing obstructing it. The breech is clear, but it simply won't feed. Why won't it feed? Guys, I've no idea what's going on there. I'm going to cut the filming for the moment. I'm going to load up the other two mags, and I'll catch you back then. Oh, it went in. Yeah, weird. Right, okay, centre target. I pulled that one. I'm out. That wasn't a bad group. So I'm just going to fill up these next two mags and I'll catch you back once I've done it. Okay, so next up are the RWS Superdomes, and we'll go top right hand target if this loads. Come on guys. Now look, you can see I'm trying every which way to get this to load, and it just doesn't want to go in. And I don't understand. There we go, it's in. Strange. Top right hand target. I'm out. It was funny, that last shot I could see the pellet actually curl in and it kind of saved the group, but it's almost a group of two halves. It started off low and to the right and then it went back over to the left, So yeah, the RWS is not so great for this barrel. And last but not least, JSB Match Diablo Exacts, 5.89 grain. Now let's see if we can get this to load. Okay, I think I'm kind of working out what's going on. There seems to be a lip here. There is a sharp lip. I can feel it with my finger. And that's preventing the magazine from feeding properly. So if you kind of hook it around that, it goes in. Okay. So, top left-hand target. Out. Right guys, yeah, for the accuracy test I think I'm going to stick with the Airarms Diablo Fields, and I'm going to check the pressure. I should have enough. Just take these off. Yeah, it's still showing 120 bars, so I should have enough for the accuracy test. So I may as well get on and do that. I'm going to quickly load up, and we'll be using the right hand piece of paper. Shouldn't take too long, it's only 10 pellets to load. And when you load these magazines, they're really quite nice. They've got a counter on the top. Red signifies 2.2, blue is 1.177, and basically you just pop them in, make sure the pellet is seated nicely, and then rotate it counterclockwise to the left, and keep going until you fill the magazine. Now if you let the mag release by accident, it just goes back to the last slot that was filled. So you know what's you know where you're at with it anyway. Nice magazines. I just wish they loaded into the breech a little bit easier, because I have been struggling with this. And there are a few things that I'm noticing now with this rifle, which I'll go into more detail when I'm inside. And I've got to say, they are kind of biasing me against the gun, but as I say, I'll explain more when I get inside. So let's see if we can index or load this magazine properly. So again, we're coming in from the left, counters up, we try and there we go, it's in. The retaining pin is pushed back in, and it's ready to go. Just going to put my glasses back on. So right hand piece of paper, bottom left hand target, single shot. So bottom right hand target. top right hand target, top left hand target, and now for a group of 5 shots in the center target. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I've got 1 shot left, and there was a flyer in that group, so I'm going to determine the group size with this last shot. Okay, and I'm glad I've done that. So the accuracy test has actually turned out pretty damn good. Using the Airguns Diablo fields. Right, I'm going to run this over the chrono, see what she's reading, and then I'll catch you inside. Right, well that was me shooting at 30 meters with the BSA Scorpion SE in .22, and I purposefully left some of that footage in, didn't edit it out, because I wanted you guys to see the difficulties that I was having loading these magazines into the breech. Couldn't work out what was going on there, but I'll talk in more detail when I come into that specific section. For now, what I'd like to do is go over the accuracy and performance and rate the rifle on that part, and then we'll talk about design and build afterwards. So let's talk about accuracy. First off, was the gun pellet fussy? Well, actually, looking at these sheets, no it wasn't. I measured them all out and they all fell within a 25mm diameter. So yeah, quite surprising really that it did well. It really did do well. And by the way guys, you know, when I'm doing these pellet tests, I'm not taking a lot of time to do it. It's all real-time filming, so you can see I'm just shooting. For me, it's enough to be able to see when I take that shot if there's a lot of deviation on that pellet. I can see it when it's going, you know, when it's flying through the air. I know where my crosshairs are when I pull a trigger, and if that pellet's not falling in that spot, then I can tell instantly whether I'm happy with that pellet or not. Now, with regards to the single shots on the outside targets, and then, you know, this is the actual accuracy test, and the group in the center, it didn't do badly at all. I mean, I'm looking at the measurements here. So the furthest away from the center of the red cross was 12.94mm. So, you know, actually just over half an inch at 30 meters. The nearest to the center of the red cross was 3.76mm. So, you know, then that's that shot there. They're not bad figures, you know, they're really not bad figures at all. And the group, when I measured it, excluding that flyer, was 12.48mm. So again, under half an inch at 30 meters. And that's, you know, if you measure a 5p piece, that has a diameter of 18mm, so they're all clearly within, or would be covered up by a 5p piece. So what scores would I give it for accuracy? Well, overall it scored 4.4 out of 5 stars, a very, very high score. The handling, well, because it's only 6.77 kilos, it actually lends itself well to the field. So it scores reasonably well on that. it's a bit light and a bit short for bench work, so obviously it kind of drops on those scores a little bit. And with regards to balance, it's not, you know, it's not bad. I mean, I was supporting it obviously with my homemade stand, and I like that stand. It just gives me a robust platform, plus the height is exactly as I want it. When I use the Cordwell, it seems to be a little bit flimsy in comparison. Anyway, for handling, I scored the rifle 3.5 out of 5 stars. Now, loading. This is where it's really let down. You saw that I was having issues there. I'm not gonna, you know, mess about. The fact that it was so difficult to get these magazines to load, and also the fact that these mags are only 10 shot mags, basically is not the score right down, and it's down at 2.5 out of 5 stars. But I think that's fair, I really do. With regards to the trigger, now, out of the box, it's okay. It was performing well. It was predictable. There wasn't too much travel on it. You didn't have to exert a lot of pressure. So, for the most part, it scored 4 out of 5. The adjustability is a bit of an issue, because if you want to get into it and, you know, adjust the second stage length and pull, you really have to take it out of the stock to be able to do that. It does have a little hex key, so you can do a little bit from this side, but yeah, it's not as adjustable as many of the triggers that are out there, so it dropped a point for that. But overall, the trigger scores 3.7 out of 5 stars. It's a, you know, it's a good score. Now, power levels, 4 out of 5. And the reason why I've given it 4 out of 5 is that when I ran it over the chrono, we were getting figures between, well, the fastest was 559 feet per second and the slowest was 551 feet per second. So we're talking an 8 feet per second spread. For a rifle that's not regulated, you know, that's really good. You're not gaining much by having a regulated rifle, in all honesty. Not when I put this up against the R10, which I've just recently reviewed. And it's kicking out 11.02 foot-pounds, so not the 11.8 foot-pound that BSA was claiming. Now, whether they were using different pellets, I don't know. It doesn't state, but I was using AA Diablo Fields 16 grains, and yeah, that's what it was kicking out, 11.02 foot-pound or 14.94 joules, so not 16 joules. Overall, for power, because it's sat at 11.02, because there's plenty of leeway there to keep you under the legal limit in the UK of 12 foot-pound, it scores 4 out of 5. Now, the shot count or air efficiency, this is where it does drop down, because I quoted those figures at the start, and I think we were looking at 140 shots per fill. I'm not going to get anywhere near that with this rifle. You know, if I extrapolate the figures, I'm looking at 97 shots, so you know, 43 shots under what BSA are quoting in their, you know, in their on their website. Yeah, not particularly good. And when you look at the usage of air, so I filled it up to 220 bar and I shot it down to 120 bar, so I used 100 bar of pressure and I had 88 shots out of that. If you take it to the max field 232 and shoot it down to 100 bar using 132 bar of pressure, so extrapolate those figures out and you're going to get 97 shots. It's equating to 0.7 of a shot per bar. Yeah, it's not very air efficient. that's for sure. So it only scores 2.8 out of 5 stars for that. With regards to noise levels, well, you really, if you're going to hunt with this, you're going to want to put a moderator on it, because it's kicking out 88 decibels, and that is quite loud. Obviously, whatever vermin you hit, that's, you know, it's going to be hit before it realises what's going on, but anything that's around it is going to be spooked. Although I still have a theory about that, because, you know, everybody says that keep a moderator on there, keep it as quiet as you can, but when that pellet hits the target, there's still the sound of the impact, and depending on where that pellet hits, you know, that pop can be very, very loud. So with an air rifle, do you really need a sound moderator? I guess there are a lot of people out there that say yes, you do, but you know, if you're right next to the target when that's hit, that creates a lot of noise as well. Anyway, that aside, last but not least for this section is value for money. The rifle, actually, at £659, again, guys, you know that I like to add £400 onto that figure, and the reason why I add 400 quid is because for £659 all you get is the rifle. You don't even get a second magazine, you only have one rotary magazine. So you're going to want to buy a scope, you're going to want a bipod probably, you're definitely going to need an air supply of sorts, you might want a second rotary mag, you're going to want some pellets. So I'm giving £400 as a budget on top of the cost of the rifle in order for you to be able to shoot it. So that takes it to £1,059. Is it good value for money? Well, if I put that against how it performs at 30 meters, and I put those figures into the calculation, it'll give me a score of 4.3 out of 5 stars, which on the face of it makes that very good value for money. However, the next section in design and build is going to question that. So yeah, but look, overall for accuracy and performance, the rifle scores 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I think that's a fair score. I really do. Okay, next I'd like to talk about design and build. And it's at this point here where I'm going to admit that had I'd seen this rifle on the shelf prior to bringing it back here to do a review, I don't think I would have done so, because to be fair, I feel quite angry about the quality of the product. Not all of the product, but certainly parts of the product, and I think it's very, very poor. So much so that, as I say, normally I'd walk past stuff like this and I'd leave it well alone, but it was in the box and I thought, okay, well, I'm doing the R10 and I've seen the Scorpion being kind of semi-reviewed at the British Shooting Show, and I thought, well, why not give it a go? Let me go through the design and build process. I'll rate the rifle for aesthetics, ergonomics, build quality, and design and safety, and then I can probably voice my opinions without missing any important points. So let's start off with aesthetics. Okay, yeah, it scored 3.5 out of 5 stars for aesthetics. It looks okay, you know, from a distance it looks okay. Put a scope on it, it looks the part. So nothing really to fall out with. The lines are good. The fact that it has this black tactical feel, yeah, it's all right. I like it. The ergonomics, because of the nature of the rifle, because it's a sporting rifle, not a military style rifle, it scores 2.5 out of 5 stars, and these type of rifles will never score highly. They just won't, because you haven't got the ability to attach arc rails. There's no adjustment in the butt pad, no adjustment on the cheek piece. There's nothing with a fore end. You can't put a hamster on it. You know, there's just it is what it is. It's a hunting rifle. It's not a bench rifle. It's not going to be that adaptable. And you know me, with regards to ergonomics, it's all about how adaptable that product is for the end user. So how adaptable the design of the rifle is for the shooter. And with this, you know, it is what it is. You can't do much with it. All right. Now let's get on to build quality. Honestly, what upsets me about this is that whoever's doing quality control at BSA really should be spoken to, because particularly with regards to the stock and also the safety and also the loading of the rifle, how this got through quality control, I have absolutely no idea. And it upsets me because I want to speak highly of a British brand. I really do. But you know, guys, and I don't know whether the camera will pick this up, but if I take the stock for example, this is probably the poorest quality stock that I have seen on a rifle in a long time. The moulding is horrendous. If you look, I don't know whether the light will pick this up, so I'm going to just try and shine it around, but you look at this moulding detail around the back of the cheek piece, it's almost as if somebody's been podging in the mould with their thumb, you know, to try and get it to work. It's shocking. If you look here, you can see the seam, but not only can you see it, it's as rough as anything. We're talking a rifle that's 659 pounds. It's wherever you look, the seams are so bad. Okay, everything is on show, on display. You can see where every join is. And I recently reviewed the Muddy Girl for the Kraut, and yeah, guys, you know that I was kind of, I was having a bit of a laugh because it was a pink, garish design on that stock, but the quality of the stock in comparison to this, well, I couldn't even compare it, because that was good. This is rubbish. This is so poor that it's very, very upsetting because of the price tag, because it's British, because we're supposed to be, you know, championing our British companies. And yeah, it's something that if I'd created, I would be ashamed of. I really would. I would not put my name to this. Definitely not. It's just poor, and it upsets me. It really does, because when you've got rifles at 180 pounds with much better quality stocks than a rifle at 659 pounds, come on, somebody have a look at your quality control and say, how on earth did that get out? And then we're not just talking about the stock here, we're talking about a safety that, honestly, when I first got this out of the box, it was jammed. I could not, and even now, you know, to try, and this has had, I can't get it. This is what's happening to my fingers, guys. It's so stiff that anybody bar an oaf like myself would really, really struggle to disengage and engage that safety. That should not happen. This rifle should be checked before it leaves the factory, and stuff like that, which is fundamentally important, should work. And then of course we got this that won't fit in the breech because there's a sharp edge here which you have to hook the magazine round so that it will actually load. So I'm really, really disappointed, and you know, I'm upset with the fact that it is what it is. It is what it is. Saying all of that lot, you know, for the barrel, for the main body of the chassis, for the cylinder, they scored well. They scored 4 out of 5 stars. The stock scored 2. 2 out of 5 stars. I don't know what to say. It's a good thing that the barrel and the chassis and the cylinder has scored so highly. I mean, and look, I've not even mentioned the bolt because of the way that design is. It's just not for me really, but there we go, 3.6 out of 5 stars, and it's lucky to get that. It really is lucky to get that. And then of course you've got the design and safety, which I've just spoken about. The positioning is great, you know, the operation is terrible, the type is okay because it's manual, and I'd rather it be automatic. So for safety it scores 3 out of 5 stars. Overall design and build 3.2. It could be so much better, and even though I've given these figures, the truth of it is that if I bought this, it would be going back to BSA. It really would. It should never have been let out of the factory. So somebody needs to look at quality control and say, okay guys, where are we failing? What's happening here? Why are we even putting this stock on this rifle? And what on earth is going on with the safety? Yeah, that's where I'm going to end it with this review. So sorry that I got a little bit het up, but I do get emotional about this because, you know, we're supposed to be proud of British industry, and it's not cheap, it's expensive, and what's coming in from abroad at the moment compared to this is better for less money. If you want to survive, you've got to make sure that you do it right. And this is where I said right from the very beginning, this is a rifle with 2 halves, the good and the bad, and there is a massive void between the two. Right guys, my rant's over. I hope you enjoyed the review. I'm sorry that I got a little bit emotional. For now, until the next one, I'm going to bid you farewell and goodbye.